Rudy, Rudy, time for your morning walk. You ready? Come on. Psst, 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 psst. Hey, how are you? Good to see you. So, is your dad already making his turkey or what?
No.
Not yet.
Well, just getting started on some things. We're actually not doing turkey.
You're not having a turkey? What are you doing?
Cornish game.
Oh, Cornish game. They're easier, probably. Great, let's have a look.
Hey,
Hi, Lance.
how are you?
I'm great.
Good, good. Can I offer you some coffee?
You certainly can. Nice to see you.
Good to see you.
I was hoping you'd have that T-shirt off.
Oh,
What does it say on it?
Oh no, this is just my.
The other one.
Not dead yet.
Well, that's
you
good.
know, from because you're not dead yet.
That's what they
We're all
said.
not dead yet.
Great.
Hopefully.
Okay.
Yeah. Welcome.
Thank you.
Some coffee.
Yeah,
You wanna
coffee
start
would
off
be
with
good.
Some coffee.
Of
I'll make
course.
some espresso. How's that?
Oh, fantastic.
I'm sitting here just sort of getting my alternative Thanksgiving together.
I understand you're having a Cornish hen and not a turkey.
Yeah, yeah.
Is there any reason for that?
Well, they were out of turkeys.
Is
you
that
know?
right? Oh,
yeah,
I
yeah,
guess
they
there
were
was
out
a run on them yesterday.
there was a run on turkeys yesterday, and we're late. You know,
Okay.
since I worked in the emergency department, we get to have our turkey day the day after. So.
Okay. Well, Cornish hen sounds like a good
Yeah, well,
alternative.
that's gonna be my compromise.
Yeah.
Yeah. There we go. That was
So
hidden.
you look like a Julia Child type.
Yeah, I do.
Did you study her book or?
No, well, I do have a series of them.
So you're not doing any cooking programs for the
No,
cooking channel?
no, we're not doing that. Definitely
It could
not.
be a new thing. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
the doc who resuscitates people.
Yeah.
With his,
We'll see.
but this
I got a feeling you may need to clip it.
It has.
Yeah.
We don't have our makeup artist with us
Uh-oh.
today,
So I'm gonna look short and bald? Where's the tall guy with a lot of hair? That's what I expect to see on TV. If it's just gonna be a short bald guy on this thing, who the heck needs that?
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you want your coffee?
It's espresso.
It's
right?
espresso.
A little sugar in it. Yeah.
Do you want it espresso or you want it sort of a cappuccino-like
Oh,
thing?
cappuccino like. That's better.
Yeah,
How
that would
about
be
you?
better.
Two cappuccino like. How about him?
He's like, I think he's okay.
He's coffee down.
What?
How are you?
Oh, all right.
If you're making
I'll make them. I'll make them. Michelle Obama was somebody that worked at the hospital. And I did one of my AED projects. I got a chance to work a little bit with Michelle. She helped me, put me in touch with a bunch of good folks. Actually, an ex-Harlem Globetrotter guy who was working in the community, and we taught young people how to do CPR. It's a great little project. One of these sort of community projects. Fabulous.
Thanks, Daddy.
You're welcome, honey. You're welcome.
How often does a sudden cardiac arrest arrive at the emergency room?
About 3 times a month, something like that. About once a week. And the thing is that a lot of them, when they get brought in, by the time they get brought in, it's really very late in the process.
In my own case, I was taken. First of all, I was very lucky that I was 2 blocks from.
You were close. You were
Yeah,
very
really
close.
close. So, Who started this procedure and how quickly did they put me into the protocols that your group has established at Presby?
Well, it was the physicians and the people in the emergency department.
And they knew they had been you had trained them, or how did that? I mean, I'm just curious how this all.
You know, it's one of these things where we had been working for several months. The folks at Presbyterian were interested in cooling because they had been reading about it, and because they knew that it seemed like a valuable thing, and like any sort of new procedure. They also knew that we had done a lot of work on it, and our website is a resource for people all over the world. We have protocols from hospitals all over the United States and all over the world on how to actually do step by step the cooling process, because it's very simple in theory, but there are details to it that are very important that you can't do the procedure without. What happens if the person shivers? What happens if it's not working? What happens if the person has some sort of a condition that you want to...
So many variables.
So many variables. So before a hospital will typically start doing something like that on a regular basis, they develop what's called a protocol. And so they had worked, I suspect, for 6 months, kind of developing their protocol so that it would be a protocol that would work at their hospital, work at Presbyterian. And their protocol, every hospital's protocol is just a little bit different.
Had
because,
you helped them in establishing that, or did they come to you? Or
they sort of had come to us, but because we have good relationships with them, and we're close, their emergency people and our emergency people are quite close. And so they'd been talking about it for 6 months. It's interesting. It's not so much getting the emergency people lined up, but you have to get everyone in the hospital all lined up, because
by that you mean
that where the patient goes after the emergency. One of the things that happened to me was my very first patient that I cooled. This is back in 2002. Is one of the first patients that I actually cooled.
In what year was that?
Like in 2002. This is after I read the articles that came out, and I knew that we were going to move in this direction. I cooled that patient down in the emergency department, and I did it pretty well because there was almost no customized equipment. The equipment now is better. I did it with like ice bags and things stuff that we could get like right out of the refrigerator.
And the idea is to get their body temperature to be
about 34 degrees centigrade, which would be about 90 degrees Fahrenheit.
Oh, so quite a ways down.
So 3 degrees centigrade reduction, or about 6 degrees in Fahrenheit from normal body temperature.
And for how long? Or it depends.
Well, it depends, but we were going to target about 24 hours. That's
to keep them that cool.
Right.
Was I 90 degrees for 20?
Yes, you were.
And what does that do to you? Are you in a coma? Is there a self-induced coma or some kind of?
That's a very good question. So it would not put you in a coma if you were normal.
Yeah.
But you were in a coma, because you had been without oxygen for a period of time, and your brain had not sort of recovered from that, and so you were in a coma, and so you won't remember any of that.
I don't even know that I went to the hospital.
Exactly. I mean, so you wouldn't remember any of that. One of the things that happens is that after the cardiac arrest, most people are simply comatose from the injury, from the cardiac arrest. Their brain has been without oxygen for a period of time, and there is a brain injury, and that is very common.
Yeah.
So in a way, we sort of take advantage of that to do cooling. When your temperature is reduced, the body just doesn't need as much oxygen. So if part of the purpose of the heart is to pump blood around to bring oxygen, it's sort of reducing the strain. It's reducing the amount of work that the heart has to do. It's reducing the amount of work that your brain has to do.
that
giving you a
everything has to
chance
do.
for those cells or whatever
The
to
cells
regenerate
and all the lots of things that we
Yeah.
don't understand to sort of have almost a little bit of hibernation, to have a little bit of a resting period, to have a little period in which the metabolism is decreased,
Yes.
so that things can sort of recover. And it is kind of miraculous that that it seems to work. A heart attack is when you've had a blockage to one of the big arteries to the heart, and a piece of the heart tissue, that muscle that squeezes, a piece of that tissue becomes injured and will die. That is a heart attack. Normally, a person does not lose, well, I shouldn't say normally, but most of the time when somebody has a heart attack, because you know you've had heart attacks
Yes,
before.
I have.
Okay? Normally, you don't become without a pulse from that.
Yes.
With a cardiac arrest, you become without a pulse. That is, you have no blood pumping from your heart.
Oh, it's
That-
totally stopped. Whereas the heart attack,
That's
it's
right.
partially blocked, but
That's right.
still
So
functioning.
The way that I think of it is with a heart attack,
Yeah.
the heart is weakened. You could have pain, but you do not collapse on the floor without a pulse.
Yeah.
With a cardiac arrest, that's a different situation. Usually it is caused by this blockage, same blockage. But what happens is there is a rhythm disturbance to the beating of the heart.
That cuts it off.
And
Turns
it
off the
turns
heart.
off the whole
Totally.
heart. Totally.
Yeah.
Everything. There's no pumping. Okay? If you look at that heart with an ultrasound machine as we do, instead of it squeezing the way a heart would normally squeeze, it really is just sitting there looking like it's just quivering. And there's no squeeze to that heart. And without a squeeze to that heart, there's no blood that's being sent to the brain and to the rest of the body. And a person dies within minutes from that.
And that's usually when they say that the expression "he dropped dead."
I think that that's exactly
It's
right.
usually a sudden. I mean,
Yes.
In the past, they
If
said that
somebody
person-
just drops dead,
that's
that's
not a
what
heart
they've
attack.
had.
It's possible.
That's a cardiac arrest, and about half of those are caused by a heart attack. And
Yeah.
what did they tell you when they looked at your coronary arteries?
They weren't blocked.
They weren't blocked.
No.
So,
this.
so the possibilities is there could have been a small blockage
Yeah.
that sometimes the body takes care of its
Yeah.
own blockage. Okay, and it might also been that there really wasn't a blockage, that you simply generated an arrhythmia.
Yeah.
And that also happens to people without a blockage.
Yeah.
And those, in a sense, are the most difficult
To detect.
or
Yeah.
to know about in advance, or
Well,
to have any
yeah,
idea.
I mean, it would be
because
very
it is absolutely like a bolt of lightning
Yeah.
striking. It's just without any sort of warning. And you know, we think, because there are doctors who specialize just in trying to understand arrhythmias. Those doctors think that at some point, and I believe some point in the future, they may be able to predict from the electrocardiogram when a person might be at risk for developing this kind of a life-threatening, disastrous
Yeah.
arrhythmia. But we're not there right now. And so unfortunately, the way many people find out that they might have an arrhythmia is when they have it.
But still, I mean, a larger question that looms for me is, how do you know which person to try these protocols on, or why it seems like, I'm not sure about this, that there's resistance by certain doctors to even try this?
So there probably is some resistance.
Or by many,
You know,
or why
by
isn't
many,
it just more widespread?
across the board? It's a
Yeah.
system problem. Hospitals are complex systems, and lining a whole series of people up to all agree on a treatment plan is always a challenge, particularly when that patient is going to go from one place, the emergency department, to maybe the ICU, and maybe in the ICU they're going to need to go to the cath lab, and then they're going to have a whole series of doctors. And as everyone says, sometimes, getting doctors to agree is never easy. and it's not something you want to do on the fly. You don't want to do it at 2 a.m.
Yeah. Oh,
you
because
want
you'd
it
have
all
to have
done,
all these.
You want it done in advance, so it becomes a system challenge
Mm-hmm.
to the hospital. And hospitals take a while to work out those kinds of systems.
I've recently heard that CPR doesn't really help. You know, I've been told like mouth-to-mouth resuscitation
The mouth-to-mouth
is
maybe
not, you know,
is
that
not the most
banging
critical thing,
on
but
the chest.
but the banging on the chest
Yeah.
is very
Yeah.
helpful.
That somebody did to me.
Yeah, and you got that.
Yeah, and that could have kept me the blood flowing.
Yeah.
I mean, how many? Well, I mean, how many minutes can you be with your heart stopped before you're legally dead? I mean, that's sort of a. Does anyone? I mean, I know there are different cases of people falling through the ice and on snow and all the rest of it, but it's like, how many minutes do you have to be?
It's a fabulous
Say-
question.
we
It's a
don't
great
know?
question. We
Well-
don't know. We don't know. We
Yeah.
have rough ideas.
Yeah. Well,
We have rough
what are the rough
ideas.
ideas, for example?
Well, if you have absolutely nothing, if you just become in cardiac arrest
Yeah.
and you don't get CPR,
Yeah.
after 5 minutes, your chances of survival drop enormously, and probably after about 10 minutes, your chances are almost, at the best, they're in the single digits. You know, you might have a very small chance.
Yeah.
And I would say a few minutes after that, you have essentially almost no chance at all. If you get the chest compressions,
Yeah.
okay, circulates some of that blood,
Yeah.
that extends
That
that
helps.
period of time. And so there have
But
been
it's not going
people-
to your brain. I mean, if
It
they're
actually
banging,
does pump.
it does.
Yeah, it does pump
You
to the
can
brain.
knock on somebody's chest and have it.
You can
Could
do.
you give me a demonstration? How would you
Yeah,
knock on my
yeah.
chest?
Well, I wouldn't. I'm not going to knock on your
All right,
chest,
let
but
me
so
just-
you know you get your hands like
So what
this.
would you do,
Here
for
we can
example?
learn together on the chair.
All right,
Okay,
let's
this
see.
is now. No, here it
This
is.
is something for my cameraman.
There you
to
go.
see me.
There you go.
Oh,
Case
where
like
should I-
this.
Oh, on the chair.
This is our guy.
Yeah,
This
I
is
see.
you laying
Yeah.
down on the
Mhm.
ground.
Yeah.
Okay. And so you know you get your hands here,
Like
and
that.
you're
So
just
you're
going to
going-
go boom, 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 boom,
Right over the
boom,
heart
boom,
or over the-
right in the middle of the
Yeah.
chest. So I'm going to go right there.
Yeah.
Okay, in the middle of the chest,
Mhm.
hands locked straight, and really as hard
Yeah.
as you can do it.
Have you done this on anyone? Have you?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
So you've been in cases where
Yes.
You
In
d-
the emergency
Yeah.
department, this is something that we do regularly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And
I've done it on several
the
hundred people.
beauty part of this is you don't need an expensive machine.
That's right. This is something you can do with your two hands.
Yeah.
And,
so
and,
do
and
that
you can
again.
keep-
Just give me that because that's great.
So,
I like-
so you know, I mean, if this is the middle of the chest right here, okay, and you're just 1, 2,
Yeah.
3, 4,
One.
5,
So
6,
it's like with the
7,
rhythm.
8, 9,
or
10.
you're like counting. Or
Absolutely.
to 10 or
Well, what I would do is
Yeah.
I would count to a number that I have in my mind.
Yeah.
I do about to 30 or so because
Yeah.
the current recommendation is to either do it continuously
Yeah.
or to do 30 compressions, and then I would try to get 2 breaths in some way.
I was just
okay.
noticing
So-
something. I noticed that you have very small hands.
I do.
That's pretty. So those are magical hands.
Well,
This is
that's a-
amazing. Look at that. A very small hand. I mean, and
Yeah.
a hand that can bring somebody back to life.
Well,
so
that's
it could be.
Yeah,
yeah,
it doesn't.
a small hand.
It's not the size of the hand.
It's
Okay?
not the size of the- it's the will behind
That's
the
right.
hand.
It's the size of the passion behind the hand.
Yeah,
you know what
this
I mean?
is
So-
important. I
yeah.
mean, it's amazing. Just watching those hands there is
Yeah.
like.
Yeah.
So this is something that should be widely publicized. I mean, they talk about
Right.
CPR, but it's, you know, I never went for a CPR class myself, but it's not that much that you have to tell somebody. I mean,
No.
like everybody should know this.
Everybody should know
But
how
they
to do this.
So, but it isn't general. I mean, it should be like a video that you go in when you go in the doctor's office.
should be.
Somebody's just saying, "Here's what you can do."
That's right.
Because it's not like you have to go to the Red Cross. I mean, you can,
Yeah.
of course, go
Yeah.
to the Red Cross.
No, this is something
but
that
you can
everyone-
learn anybody, and that could probably save anybody a number of
I
lives.
tell people all the time that
Yeah.
everyone should be prepared to be a lifesaver.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
and
a great.
right?
We could even title
Everyone-
this production. Everybody should be.
everybody
prepared to
should be.
alive.
But think about it. Keith
Yeah,
was there with you.
yeah,
He wasn't thinking on that day
no,
that he might play a role in
saving your life.
Yeah.
That when he came to work, that wasn't what he
No,
was thinking about.
of course not.
It was just boom there.
Yes.
And unfortunately, that's the way it is. No one gets the opportunity to schedule
Yeah,
an emergency.
no,
like
you
this.
never know.
No, you just don't. Nobody wakes up on one morning and says, "Oh, today I'm going to be walking down Market Street
and somebody's going to have a sudden
somebody's
or
gonna
even
have a cardiac arrest."
You would do this for a heart attack as well.
Not if they're talking to you. And
Oh, so if they had a heart
okay.
attack, you wouldn't pump on their chest.
You're going to do this on someone who you think might be without a pulse.
I see. So.
And the easiest way to do that is, you sort of shake them and see if they respond. If they don't respond, and if they don't breathe in a normal fashion, you just start.
that.
You start and let the paramedics sort it out.
When the paramedics got there, did they put a defibrillator? I never can say this word.
A defibrillator.
Did they did that?
They did.
They did.
They did.
And that shocks the heart.
It does.
To start it.
It's sort of a like a jump start.
Yeah.
Okay. The heart had stopped, and what that electrical current does, it sort of depolarizes it very rapidly, which means it just sort of changes all the electrical charge, and then, like a battery, the heart will restart. Now, it doesn't work every time, and it particularly doesn't work if the heart and the body has been without good CPR.
Yeah.
So that CPR
is the first
that
critical
that
step.
sort of primes the pump, if you will, and then the defibrillation shock can reboot
the heart.
That heart.
The fact that we're neighbors is just amazing. That you lived around the corner, that a mutual friend knew about you and knew of your work, and then said to my wife that very next day, you better go see.
Yeah. And she showed up on the porch.
Yeah, and came and spoke with your wife, and that was, I mean, when you're in a situation like this, it's like any bit of information, it's just so much that's unknown in your...
Well, I think for her, it was, just for anyone.
Well, anybody,
just overwhelming.
Yeah, so I mean, that was...
amount of stress and
uncertainty.
Total uncertainty. And to be honest, it is total uncertainty because when a person, after a cardiac arrest, what we've actually learned is that period of uncertainty is much longer than we would like, but much longer than we even think.
The uncertainty in terms of
how a person's going to do, because really that's what Aisha wanted to know. How is Lawrence going to be?
Yeah.
Is he going to recover?
Do they at some point in that process, I know like when my mother was ill, they said, well, we could keep her going on the machine, but what kind of life she was already 90-some years old. Should we unplug the machine?
Yeah.
Do they? I guess they could.
They would do that.
They could say.
And just so you know, here's where this is a very interesting area that we are learning about and having to reevaluate because what we're learning is that it's a much longer period of time than we thought. What we've thought up until working with patients with hypothermia is that after about 1 to 3 days, you could sort of make a determination of somebody's how their brain is going to be. Mm-hmm. And what we've learned with the cooling procedures is now we're out at no earlier than 3 days, which is
before you make any
before you
decision.
can just say anything.
Yeah.
And that what we're seeing actually in the hospital with our patients is that many of our patients show their biggest improvements like in days 5 and 6 and 7 after their cardiac arrest. So a week after their cardiac arrest is when all of a sudden they're beginning to wake up and they're beginning to regain function. They're beginning to know where they are and things like that. Yeah. And so you can't really evaluate that person's brain function until you allow that recovery to sort of take place. Now, so can I ask you a question?
Of course.
Okay, I get to ask you a question now. That's good. That's good. So now we're turning this around.
Right,
okay, so as a photographer, okay, how do you think you see the world a little bit differently, and do you see it any differently, having had sort of the experience that you've had?
The question is a very good one, and one that people have asked me, not necessarily as a photographer. Usually they're saying, do you see something different about yourself? Mm-hmm. But since I am a photographer in part, did it change my photography? I think the biggest change I've seen is that you're more aware that life does have an end, and it's not as far away as you used to think. You know, I was saying to the cameraman here, Daniel, he's 40. You know, at 40 years of age, you're not thinking of your death, although anybody could die in a catastrophe or whatever. But you know, you don't see a limit. You don't even see a limit even at 50. You might not even have seen it at 60. But certainly, I mean, I've had heart attacks in the past, and each heart attack also is like a, if you want to say, a wake-up call. I mean, it delineates for you. You've had a heart attack. It could have killed you. It didn't. But I think a sudden cardiac arrest is even more catastrophic, usually. I mean, people generally survive a heart attack, although you can be dead, or you can die from a brain aneurysm. You know, so many things that can kill you pretty quickly. So I do see things differently, both as a person and as a photographer. I see my lifespan as having a certain time limit. I don't know what that is. In fact, I talked with a doctor the other day who's treating me for another ailment, which we won't go into, but he said, can you find out from some of your doctors what your longevity is? Which is like a great question. You know,
how long is this battery going to last?
Yeah, so I don't know. I know you're a doctor, but I want to ask you that question because I don't even, I mean, can anybody tell you, do I have 10 years, do I have 15, do I have 20?
I don't think.
Nobody knows.
I don't think anybody reputable is going to say.
Getting back, but yes, I believe that I see things differently because I now know my life is delineated more than it was before.
I think that people sort of in some way might have in their own mind, kind of a timeline of their life.
Yeah. Well, you do have a time.
Right.
I mean, some people think, I mean, you know, if you're in Eastern philosophy, I remember when I was young, you know, reading, was it Hesse? Did you ever?
Hermann Hesse.
Hermann Hesse, you know. I mean, he had a continuum that was more borrowed from
the Eastern
philosophies, you know, more circular perhaps.
Yeah.
So, you know, so it is a good question. You know, what timeline, you know, are we going from birth year to death year? That's a continuum. That's pretty straightforward. Or are we part of this larger universe and it doesn't, you know, we're all chirping away like us right here. And so so I think I've become more philosophical.
Yes,
since this
that's
event.
what it sounds like to me.
Yeah, I wake up earlier now. Maybe it's
wake up earlier now.
Yeah, well, I used to wake up early anyway. I used to be up at 6:30 for sure, but now I'm up at 4:30.
I see.
But
so let me ask: do you wake up? So you wake up earlier since you've had this.
Yes.
Do you have different thoughts?
Yes. My brain is like really going very. It feels like it's going in a good way.
In a good way.
Yeah.
So it's sort of this creative, creative thinking.
I don't know. I feel re-energized.
Yes.
You know, normally you think you would be feeling tired or this or that.
That's what I would have thought.
And I'm even going. I mean, the fact that I get up so early, you know, and I don't go to bed sometimes till 11. Although I used to. I mean, if I'm bored.
You get up at 4:30.
Yeah. 4:30.
I have emails from you.
Yeah, that's what people say.
At 4:20 and 5:02.
That's when I do my best emails.
Yes.
But sometimes I have to think twice. Should I really send this email? I actually started yesterday or 2 days ago to write you a really long email, which I haven't sent yet. Oh, part of in my email, I looked up what emergency meant. Do you know what it means?
I have sort of
it means
just made the assumption.
rising to the light.
Oh, rising.
Can you believe that?
To the
I'll send
light.
it to you.
You have to send that to
it's,
me.
It's like from Old Latin and somewhere.
Emergence.
You know, emergency. So
emergence.
It's this rising to the light.
Rising.
You know, because I was like, I had like spelled emergency room wrong. You know, so you see that little red line under it, and then I said, oh, what's wrong? I have 2 M's or 1 M or 2 R, whatever it was.
Yeah.
So when I looked it up, then the etymology of the word was great. That's great. So.
Yeah,
that's what we're talking about, and that's what photography is about.
And you've that's fabulous.
It is.
And so there you go. It's the science of light, and life is light.
Yeah,
life
is light.
Life is light.
That's what we're gonna end
we're
on.
We're all gonna emerge.
I hope so.
That's fabulous.
So it's great that you decided to come to Philadelphia.
Well,
and fate brought us together.
Brought us all
blocks
together.
Away.
Yeah, that's great.
And I'll let you continue.
pomegranate and walnut, which
Oh.
is, it's Persian. And,
And it's found online.
well, I found it online, and
Yeah.
she showed me where it was an actual recipe from a restaurant that we've all gone to occasionally in Chicago,
Yeah.
a Persian restaurant.
One day I'd
Um,
like to take you to a Turkish restaurant here in
Oh.
Philadelphia.
There's
Have you
a
been
place, there's a place, Divan,
Divan.
that we love.
Oh, that's
It's
the
almost
one.
Karen's favorite
Yeah,
place.
it is a very nice restaurant.
It's fabulous.
We'll take you there.
Oh, yeah, you won't have any trouble getting us there.
I don't think so.
Because Karen just loves it. This is truly in the realm of an experiment. So we're just gonna see. This is like it sort of is done as, or presented as a stew almost, when it's
Done.
all done, and we'll see, as they say, a stew in walnut pomegranate sauce. So
Walnuts are great for chicken.
yeah, I think so.